I never believed in signs. I'm a scientist, or at least I used to be, before the lab downsized and I took a consultancy role from home. I believed in data, in cause and effect, in things you could track, measure, and repeat. Superstition, intuition, gut feelings, they were charming, sure, but unscientific. And yet, everything began to shift the day I noticed Cleo watching the rain. We adopted Cleo 4 years ago. She was already grown when she came to us, skinny, quiet, and with one cloudy eye. The shelter said she'd been hit by a car as a kitten, healed up okay, but always walked with a strange, halting gait. Still, she had this regal bearing about her. She wasn't a cuddler, not in the typical sense. Cleo didn't come when called, never slept on laps. But she followed you like a shadow and made you feel watched, not in a creepy way, more like, protected. She chose her spots. The windowsill in the kitchen when we were cooking. The hallway when we were sleeping. And, lately, the edge of the bathtub, where she perched for hours while I soaked, thinking through numbers or formulas or whatever new research puzzle had been thrown at me. At first, her watching the rain didn't strike me as anything. Cats are odd, and Cleo was odder than most. But it wasn't just the window she stared at, it was the rain itself, like she was tracking something in it. Her ears would twitch at random, and her tail curled tight around her legs as if she was holding something in. I remember the first day I really noticed it. The rain had been coming down in sheets all morning. My wife, Elena, had already left for work, and I was in the living room typing out a client report. Cleo was sitting on the armrest of the couch, facing the wide bay window that overlooked our small, cluttered garden. It had this slow, eerie feel, like she wasn't watching the outside world, but waiting for something to emerge from it. That same day, when Elena came home, Cleo didn't follow her into the kitchen. That was rare. Usually, Cleo would stretch and trot toward her like she was checking for changes, like she always did when we came back from anywhere. She didn't greet me, Elena noted with a half smile. Guess I've been demoted. But I watched Cleo. Her head was still turned toward the window, unmoving. Like she hadn't heard the door at all. Over the next few days, Cleo's behavior grew stranger. She no longer slept at the foot of our bed. Instead, she chose the hallway rug, right outside the guest bathroom. Every night, like clockwork. Sometimes we'd find her staring at the baseboard, ears pointed, pupils dilated, tail twitching. Once, she let out this low, guttural growl when Elena tried to lift her and move her somewhere more comfortable. She's being weird, Elena said. Do cats see ghosts? Infrasound, I said automatically, looking up from my laptop. Maybe a pipe humming. Or she hears something in the walls. Elena laughed. You and your rational explanations. But it wasn't just that. Cleo had stopped eating breakfast, unless Elena fed her. She stopped following me from room to room and started shadowing Elena exclusively. If I called her, she ignored me. If I walked too close while she was perched somewhere, she hissed. One night, I was watching her from the hallway. Elena had fallen asleep early. I was passing the guest bathroom and saw Cleo curled tightly into a loaf shape, facing the bathroom door again. The light was off inside. Just the soft buzz of the hallway lamp above. Suddenly, Cleo turned her head, slowly, mechanically, and locked eyes with me. That one cloudy eye of hers seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. She didn't blink. Just stared. I took a step forward, whispering her name. Cleo. She bolted, not away from me, but into the bathroom. I followed, hesitating at the doorway. The air inside felt colder than the rest of the house. I flipped on the light. Cleo was sitting on the tile now, staring at the base of the sink. I crouched down. Listened. Nothing. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. That Cleo had seen something long before we did. A week later, Elena started coughing. At first, it was minor, an annoying dry tickle she blamed on the changing seasons. But it got worse. Her voice grew hoarse. She was exhausted all the time. I pressed her to see a doctor, but she brushed me off. "It's just a flu," she said. "Or a late spring allergy." Cleo grew more intense in her behavior. She didn't leave Elena's side. Not even for food. She'd sit on the bathroom rug when Elena was in the shower. She'd sleep outside the bedroom door if Elena had closed it. Once, when I tried to wake Elena from a nap, Cleo leapt onto the bed, body rigid, and yowled in this alarming, guttural tone I'd never heard before. "What is wrong with her?" I asked. Elena just smiled weakly. "I think she's trying to warn me about you." It was a joke. But it landed like a knife. Elena agreed to go to the doctor after 2 weeks of worsening fatigue. Her cough had turned rattling and deep. I drove her there. Cleo waited at the window, her cloudy eye pressed against the glass. They ran tests. Blood work. Scans. The waiting took a few days. When the results came back, everything changed. Stage 2 lung cancer. Aggressive. Fast-moving. I couldn't speak. Elena just stared at the floor, as if she'd known. As if the signs had been there all along, and she had simply been waiting for the truth to catch up. We sat in silence in the car afterward. Cleo greeted us at the door with a long, low meow. Not joyful. Not frightened. Just there. She rubbed against Elena's legs, then circled her twice and sat in the hallway. From that day on, Cleo changed again. She became a nurse. She anticipated every moment of Elena's discomfort. When the chemo started, Cleo would curl beside her on the couch, gently pressing her paws against Elena's abdomen. She'd sit near her head when the migraines came. She stopped hissing at me, but she still wouldn't come when I called her. It was like all of her focus was channeled into one task, staying close to Elena. During the worst of the treatments, Elena would cry sometimes, silently, at night. She'd whisper into Cleo's fur, eyes closed, her fingers knotted in the cat's scruff. I'd sit beside them, feeling like an outsider in my own grief, watching this silent, invisible communication pass between them. I kept thinking back to that rainy day. The way Cleo had stared. The window. The hallway. The bathroom. Like she had seen the sickness before we did. Like she'd heard it hiding in the walls. Months passed. The treatment slowed the spread, but it was a battle. Cleo never left her side. And then, one day, Elena smiled for real again. A call came from the clinic. The latest scans showed signs of stabilization. The tumors were shrinking. The prognosis was cautiously optimistic. We cried, holding each other on the kitchen floor, and Cleo meowed behind us, like she wanted in. Things got better, slowly. We returned to small routines. Cooking. Walking in the garden. Reading late at night. And Cleo, too, seemed to unwind. She started playing again. Began sleeping at the foot of our bed. Even let me pet her without protest. Then one morning, I found her curled up on the windowsill, watching the rain. Peaceful. Still. As if her work was done. Cleo died a month later. It was gentle. Quiet. She lay on the rug by the bathtub, her breathing slowing gradually through the night. We buried her in the garden, under the dogwood tree Elena had always loved. It rained that day. Lightly. As we stood over her grave, Elena reached for my hand and said, she knew. All along. I nodded. And, for the first time in my life, I believed in signs.